Weren't they incredible? Amazing. Excellencies. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, friends, colleagues, fellow Africans, I am Zainab Badawi, and it is my pleasure, privilege and honor to be the MC of the 2018 Leadership Ceremony for the Mo Ibrahim Foundation. Now, that group you just heard there, Urunana is their name, and you know they were formed just after the genocide. And Urunana means people holding hands together. So it represents unity at a time when the Rwandans really needed that. And in fact, two of that dance group you saw were found joined since, but if you noticed, they don't have any of those fast new dance movements, you know, the Michael Jackson things. They stuck to their authentic Rwandan cultural roots of very slow, elegant moves. And in fact, it's a bit of a metaphor, really, the elegance of Kigali. What a beautiful, clean, majestic city. It really is a jewel in the crown of African capitals. I mean, it's so clean you could eat your lunch off the pavements, you know, the walkways, couldn't you? And in fact, it represents a remarkable feat of recovery, rebuilding and reconstruction of a shattered nation. And at the helm of all of that has been the president of Rwanda, of course, Paul Kagame, who has also just assumed the chairmanship of the African Union and, of course, is the host nation for this year's Ibrahim Governance Weekend. And, Mr. President, of course, the Foundation chose your country to salute your achievements and your efforts in bringing peace, prosperity, and stability to your people. So please may I invite you to the stage to make the opening remarks for us, Mr. President. Thank you.
Excellency Alassane Ouattara, President of the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire, Excellency Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, former President of the Republic of Liberia, Excellency former Prime Minister of Ethiopia, my friend, brother, Haile Mariam Desalegn, Excellencies, former heads of state and government, Mo Ibrahim, founder and chair of the Mo Ibrahim Foundation, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a good evening to you and welcome to Rwanda. The Ibrahim Governance Weekend is an important event, and we are honored that you chose to meet in Kigali. We thank you. We all share the conviction that accountable governance and service delivery are the core responsibilities of government. Tonight is about underscoring that shared commitment. I would like to congratulate Ellen Johnson Sirleaf for her selection as the 2017 Ibrahim Prize laureate. The committee's choice recognizes her achievements in leading Liberia through a particularly consequential period of its history. We salute President Johnson Sirleaf and wish the people of Liberia the best in the years ahead as they build on the good foundation laid during her tenure in office. Leadership is both a privilege and a duty. It is best measured in terms of concrete results that citizens can feel in their everyday lives, as well as in the level of trust that they have in public institutions. During our time in office, we must work as hard as we can to do the right things for our people's future, no matter how difficult. The focus of the Ibrahim Forum tomorrow on public service in Africa and the civic contract is therefore entirely on target. This is where our energies should be directed, and I'm very much looking forward to participating in the discussions together with many of you. Congratulations once again to this year's honoree, and also to the board and staff of the Mo Ibrahim Foundation for your important work on behalf of our continent. Thank you, Mo Ibrahim. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I wish to end here by thanking you for your kind attention, and please enjoy this special evening.
Thank you, President Paul Kagame, for your kind opening remarks. And as the President noted, the theme of this year's Ibrahim Governance Weekend is public service and the importance of the delivery of public services when it comes to meeting key goals in governance. And we're just going to play you a VT now, which will highlight what governance and good leadership and delivery of public service of people. So just a sample of opinions.
There is no silver bullet for leadership. It's easy to criticize. It's easy to pull down that no one is 100%. But it's really difficult to take that decision that you will go against all odds because you believe that there is a destination that you have, and that is to make people's lives better.
We have seen in Africa how, without leadership, countries can be brought to the brink with devastating consequences for the citizens.
Statistically, Africa has lost more lives as a result of internal armed conflicts than during the wars of liberation against the colonialism and the foreign oppressions.
The process of nation building is yet to be completed in Africa. Peace remains elusive. We need to develop and root in our societies a culture of peace.
We've done gone a long way to make that transformation from violence to peace, to productive endeavor, and we owe that a lot to just the Liberian people who have wanted peace, who have said no more war.
The pessimists have only to read the statistics about new democratic states. The demise of one-party states and military dictatorship, and the rates with which economies have grown, to realize that Africa is on the rise.
Com efeito, Cabo Verde partiu de muito baixo, próximo do nada, para, passo a passo, com esforço e perseverança compartilhados, atingir o estádio em que se encontra hoje e que acaba, finalmente, por merecer o reconhecimento do Conselho do Prémio.
I'm elated that my humble endeavors to consolidate, broaden, and deepen democracy in my country by practicing transparent and accountable governance, respecting human and civil rights, including women's rights, the rule of law, fighting poverty and ignorance, and confronting the scourge of HIV/AIDS, have been recognized by a team of illustrious and eminent personalities, such as the Prize team.
I remain optimistic about our continent and the future of our people. It is important to emphasize that good governance is an ideal, a journey, and not a one-time destination.
This different Africa did not happen by chance. It happened because our policymakers, our civil society, our citizens, each and every one of us and our friends contributed to pursue consistent policies, to take our destinies in our hands and to do things differently.
No meu entendimento, o Estado africano deve ser Estado estratega.
Leadership must happen at all levels, horizontally, vertically. It must happen at all levels. It must happen in the community, in the village, in the family. It must happen in the United Nations, in businesses across the world.
The transformation we want to achieve will be pushed forward by countless and often nameless leaders on the ground.
When you are in a crowd and you stand out in that crowd, it is only because you are being carried on the shoulders of others.
I realized the time had come and conditions were right to allow a new leadership to take over and push the country forward.
The countries, they still face challenges. And it's precisely because there are so many challenges that we have to recognize that despite the challenges, they were able to make progress. And that's the message which is being sent to all African leaders.
And I believe if we have good governance and respect for human rights and for real participation, partners in governing, we can actually pick this continent up, not simply to address the problems that we face, but 20, 30 years from now, be a real global leader, providing real global solutions to create a globally just, equitable, and sustainable world for future generations.
When are we going to learn that we are family? We are family. And that we will not advance made for caring, made for gentleness, made for goodness. And you young people are our hope.
The wonderful Desmond Tutu there, ending that kind of roll call of who's who in Africa. And I always love the fact that Desmond Tutu says that despite all the trials and tribulations that he often hears being discussed, he remains a captain of hope, is how he describes himself. Well, we now hand over to another captain of hope, my good friend, my dear brother, Dr. Mo Ibrahim, who, of course, is the chairman of the Mo Ibrahim Foundation, and a man who, through his generosity, charm, passion, compassion, and real love of the continent and its people, has made the Mo Ibrahim Foundation a cornerstone when it comes to the battle in trying to bring good governance, peace, prosperity, stability, and all the rest of it to the people of this dear continent. So, Dr. Mo, Brother Mo, Chairman Mao, oh, sorry, Mo, I meant. The old jokes are the best, Mo. Your opening remarks.
Thank you. Thank you, Zainab. Very charming. Brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters, welcome to Kigali. And thank you really for coming all the way from far to really participate in our conversation and celebration of governance and leadership here. I have been instructed very, very sternly that I only have 5 minutes, no more. And so I cannot possibly welcome every person here in the way I would have loved to do personally. There are so many presidents, leaders here, and so allow me to say you are all welcome, honors reserved. Thank you. But I really want to thank the people and the government of Rwanda for their warm welcome. We felt that warmth, and that was really interesting, and we are grateful for that. Brothers and sisters, it is wonderful to have a winner this year. You know, some years we don't have winners. But it's also wonderful that the winner is a she. And, interesting is and also fitting that the she is honored here in Rwanda, because nobody did more for women than Rwanda. Nobody really addressed the gender issue as comprehensively as this country. So it is very fitting that we have our first female laureate to be honored on the land of what I say, the female giants here. It's really interesting. Our conversation tomorrow will focus on, as you heard, on public services, its status, expectations, delivery, and the social contract between citizens and the state. There have been endless conferences in Africa or about Africa, discussing everything under the sun. You know, how we can convince those reluctant foreigners to come and invest in this country. How do we, you know, clean their shoes or do this or, but I never heard of a conference or a meeting really to discuss our own public service and public servants. This is the people who do our education, teach our kids, the guys who bring electricity, clean water, hospitals, hospital workers, nurses, street cleaners, gardeners, the people who are doing everything around us. And we never stopped once to think what is going on in this sector, what those guys are doing, let alone saying thank you. So it is for those who dedicate this conference tomorrow. I guess my time is almost up. Maybe I have 1 minute now. And really, I cannot, it would be amiss of me if I did not thank our board members and prize committee, because those people really, without them, there's no foundation. Can they stand up, please, and we thank them. Can you stand up? Don't be shy, please. Thank you. Thank you. And I also wish to thank all those wonderful organizations which are enriching our meetings. This is not about us only, the foundation coming here and you know, arranging talks or whatever, but also to offer a platform for all the well-meaning people, all the African civil society, African institutions, etc., the international institutions in Africa, to come and really discuss issues here. I have to write this down because I was terrified of missing somebody. These are the people who are running workshops here and having really interesting meetings. The B team, this is the business people. Open Government Partnership, the One Campaign, Blavatnik, Oxford School of Government, the Institute of Innovation and Public Purpose at UCL, SAWAS, running summer school here, the Africa Report, they had their debate today. I don't know what happened. We closed the African Union or we keep on. I left before the end. I don't know what you guys decided. APRM and the ICG, the International Crisis Group, the African Philanthropy Forum, TBG and Satya, who are hosting the business discussions and the business meeting. Those are the money guys. And I would like also to welcome women political leaders who are having an important meeting here. And I guess I think I'm a vice chair of this organization. I'm not a woman, but I'm an honorary woman. And but somehow I'm involved with them as well. But it's wonderful that they come to form African chapters here, and the government is also welcoming them. Really thank you for all those wonderful people who come here and enrich our meetings to have all this. Thank you very much. I'm only 5 minutes now. Thank you, and I shut up.
Stay with me. I'd like you to keep me company, just for a minute or two, because I'd like to introduce our next speaker. He is, of course, the president of Ivory Coast, Côte d'Ivoire, a true intellectual of the continent because he's an economist by profession. Indeed, he was deputy managing director of the IMF, where he was also director of the Africa department. But not content with staying with being in the back room, he also wanted to be in the early 90s under Félix Houphouët-Boigny, and of course since 2010 Alassane Ouattara has been president of a country, again, a country which he inherited at the time was rather fractured, and he really helped transform Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, by giving it one of the fastest growth rates in the whole of the continent. And as testament to his efforts, indeed, when he stood for re-election in 2015, he won with a resounding 84% of the vote. President, say hello to him.
First of all, I'd like to apologize for not greeting so many friends and brothers and sisters I see now sitting there, and so good evening to all of you. President Paul Kagame, President of the Republic of Rwanda, my dear brother, Madame Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, former President of the Republic of Liberia, my dear sister, Mr. Mo Ibrahim, my brother, founder and chair of the Mo Ibrahim Foundation, Mr. Dr. Salim Ahmed Salim, chair of the Ibrahim Prize Committee, former prime ministers and presidents, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure and a true honor to be here tonight in Kigali at this event organized by the Mo Ibrahim Foundation to pay tribute to a truly remarkable person, my sister, the former president of Liberia, Madame Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. When I received the protocol direction, I was told that I had only 5 minutes to give my address, as Ibrahim said also. But since President Kagame spoke only 3 minutes, so I consider I'll take the share of 7 minutes left to him because he was entitled to 10 minutes. Well, before talking about my sister, Ellen, let me express my sincere thanks and my gratitude to my brother, Paul Kagame, to the government and the good people of Rwanda for all the marks of attention and kind hospitality extended to me and my delegation since our arrival in this charming city of Kigali. Every time we're here, we really feel at home. My dear brother, thank you very much again, and my delegation and all of us are very grateful for your hospitality. And I'd like to commend my good friend Ibrahim for his steady commitment to the promotion of leadership and good governance in Africa. And some of us who are in office get very worried that for so many years no prize was given. Over a short period of time, of course, the Mo Foundation, thanks to your leadership, has become a respected institution which provides a credible framework to address governance issues and assess progress in African countries. And looking at your publications, I'd like to congratulate you, because for many of us, it's also an encouragement when we see the ranking that we're gaining or losing. We say, well, we have to do much better. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really proud today to be part of this event organized by the government of Rwanda and the Mo Ibrahim Foundation to celebrate my sister, President Johnson Sirleaf. I'd say an exceptional woman, a renowned development expert, a respected scholar, a banker, an acute politician, and a true leader. Please applaud Madam Ellen Johnson-Sirleaf. And I'm truly honored to call Ellen my friend and my sister. So in just about 12 years, you have transformed Liberia, and I'm a witness, Cote d'Ivoire and Liberia being neighbors. And it was a country torn by war. And I experienced the problem when I was Prime Minister from 1990 to 1993. And seeing what you've done in 12 years, it's remarkable. And I'd like to congratulate you on behalf of all of us. And since becoming president, clearly you have succeeded in restoring confidence and hope to the Liberian people. And under difficult circumstances, you have undertaken courageous institutional and economic reforms. And thanks to you, Liberia is recognized today as throughout Africa and beyond for your strong and credible democratic institutions. And the last elections are a proof of that. So congratulations to you. You have worked tirelessly to promote reconciliation among the Liberian people, and that was not easy. And you have initiated major economic projects in the social and productive areas. The UN mission in Liberia, after a 15-year presence in your country, departed Liberia earlier this year, observing that the country has transitioned to peace and democracy. This is a true tribute to the leadership of my sister Ellen Johnson-Sirleaf and to your exceptional contribution to peace and security in Liberia. President Johnson-Sirleaf's leadership and contribution span way beyond Liberia. The people of Cote d'Ivoire, for example, will never be indebted enough to her. Indeed, during the post-electoral crisis in Cote d'Ivoire, President Ellen Johnson was a constant voice of moderation, receiving hundreds of thousands of Ivorians in Liberia, and always trying to find lasting and peaceful solutions. You made sure that the thousands of Ivorians who crossed the border because of the civil strife were received with dignity and were provided with the adequate protection and care. And one of the most important contributions I recall that you made to peace and security in Cote d'Ivoire was the establishment in 2013 of a joint council of traditional chiefs and elders of Liberia and Cote d'Ivoire. And we met both in Liberia and in Cote d'Ivoire with our traditional chiefs, because they're the source of tradition and also moderation. The Joint Council, through their meetings and grassroots advocacy, promoted peace and reconciliation among the populations living on both sides of the border. Indeed, I'm happy to say that since the establishment of this Joint Council and the development activities carried out along the border, including new roads between the two countries, electrification of villages on both sides of the border, and the development of agricultural productions, the western part of Cote d'Ivoire has enjoyed peace and security. More than 90%, 95% of the refugees who were living in camps in Liberia have since returned to Cote d'Ivoire. And I understand that those who are staying have decided to stay there and have families, have created families, and because Liberia and Cote d'Ivoire are one and the same country. And this is thanks to your leadership and your commitment to peace. And I'd like also to say what your outstanding contribution was as chairperson of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, from 2016 to 2017. And you have made notable achievements in the areas of security and democracy. And will you remember always your shuttle diplomacy and your firm principle stance that led to a peaceful resolution of a crisis in the Gambia, for example. Thanks to you. Dear Ellen, Ibrahim Foundation recognizes today you for your courage and your exceptional leadership. You will always be a source of inspiration for African leaders and a model for future generations. And as a neighbor to Liberia, I can testify to indicate how popular you were and you are. We're very proud of you. We're very proud of you, my dear sister, as I had the opportunity to indicate this during your visit to Côte d'Ivoire. You're a jewel to us. Yeah. Nobel Prize, and a person who has always treated all the people of Liberia and Côte d'Ivoire as one people. Thank you very much to you. Thanks to all you for your attention. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, President Ouattara. Thank you. Mind the steps as you go down. Okay, it's a while since I visited you in the State House.
To Côte d'Ivoire.
Yeah, well, invite me. Yeah. So, all these wonderful young people who've joined me on stage. So, this striking lady, and she is a rising star here in Rwanda. She composes her own music. This is the Nyundo School Band who accompany her. And her songs, some of her songs have a very strong social message, particularly aimed at young women, but they're also very joyous songs, drawing on Rwandan traditional music. And Fiona, I know that your day job, you're a medical laboratory technician. So, isn't that incredible? A young lady. Go ahead, please.
umuryango urakumbuza ariko ndanga nkukumbaho Africa!
I'm out of breath because I was dancing backstage. I don't know about you. I think the rising star has just risen. Fiona and Mbabazi. Terrific. And the wonderful young band from the Nyundo School of Music. Really wonderful. So I'd like to invite to the stage, please, Dr. Salim Ahmed Salim, who is the chairman of the Mo Ibrahim Prize Committee. If you would be so kind as to make your way to the stage, please. And Dr. Salim, of course, needs little introduction. He is a Tanzanian statesman. He has held most high minister, foreign minister. He was a top diplomat, ambassador to China, India. He was Secretary General of the Organization of African Unity, which of course became the AU. Please, so much. Thank you.
Your Excellency, President Paul Kagame, Your Excellency, President Alassane Ouattara, former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. Let me begin by again thanking our host, President Paul Kagame, for his warm welcome and hospitality. Allow me also to commend him for his tireless efforts It is significant that we are in Kigali today, just a month since the signing of the Africa Free Trade Agreement, bringing closer the vision of united and integrated. This is an auspicious occasion. We are here to celebrate our first woman laureate and an exemplary civil servant. But this is more than just the fact that Madam Sirleaf is a woman. She, along with the previous laureates, embodies the type of role model the prize is intended for. In every country, the quality and contribution of leadership in government is critical. It's heads of state and government who, in the first and last resort, have the responsibility to decide, the responsibility of assessing risks, of choosing the correct priorities for their country, and of focusing Given the dimension and complexity of the challenges of our continent, the importance of the executive leadership is in many ways greater here than in most places. In too many cases, leaders have taken over torn countries, collapsed states, and deeply divided populations. The joint presence tonight of President Kagame, President Ouattara, and former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf is a strong testimony to the sheer challenges that need to be addressed. To meet these challenges, our continent's leaders have limited resources and less institutional support than those of wealthier countries. In the circumstances, their achievements are all the more significant. The Ibrahim Prize for Achievement in African Leadership was established in 2007 against this background. We aim to provide role models that highlight the exceptional qualities and commitment required. This award is also intended to provide the means for laureates to pursue their contribution in their own country and to the continent once they have handed over their national mandate. From the very beginning, the bar has been set high. It recognizes not only good leaders, of which Africa has many, but truly exceptional figures which by nature are rare. What connects all the laureates is the transformative impact their leadership had on their country and on their people. We are looking for leaders who leave their country in a far better state than when they came to office, who have strengthened the trust of their fellow citizens in state and leadership, and who have built a strong legacy. It goes far beyond requiring leaders to step down willingly at the end of their constitutional term. Last February, the Price Committee came to the unanimous conclusion that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, former president of Liberia, is a deserving 2017 laureate of the Ibrahim Prize for Achievement in African Leadership. Normally, our prize committee works in confidential. But I can tell you, the choice of Mrs. Johnson Sirleaf has been one of the worst kept secrets. We are not making any regrets. It's simple to say the interest and enthusiasm about her was universal in the continent. Last February, our prize committee came to the conclusion, unanimous conclusion, that she deserves that prize. So before I read the citation of our prize committee, allow me to share an extract from an opinion piece presented by her successor, President George Weah, in the New York Times a few days ago. And I quote, "President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf played an integral role in Liberia's revival and helped build the foundation of which we stand today. I carry forward the torch from her. I am excited and humbled, ready to get to work," unquote. No greater tribute could be given. And now let me faithfully recite the citation of the Prize Committee when it made that decision, unquote. The Prize Committee found that confronted with unprecedented and renewed challenges, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf demonstrated exceptional and transformative leadership. She took over a country that was struck again by the Ebola crisis. Such a journey cannot be without some shortcomings. But today, Liberia continues to face many challenges. Nevertheless, during her 12 years in office, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf laid the foundations on which Liberia can now build. In the process, she restored Liberians' dignity and pride in their country. Throughout her time in office, she staunchly maintained her priorities and her determination to succeed on behalf of the people of Liberia. Since 2006, every category and subcategory of the Ibrahim Index on African Governance. From 2006 to 2014, before the Ebola crisis hit the country, the Liberian economy grew at an average annual rate of over 7%. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf endured imprisonment, exile, and personal risk on her road to leadership, and yet persevered in her demand for honest government for her people. She courageously embraced opponents and fought for generational change and paved the way for her successor. Her achievements have inspired and given confidence to millions of women in public service. May I just say a slight amendment, not only an inspiration to women, but also to men. Apart from her leadership in her country, she has always been a champion for Africa. Her success is Africa's success and a testament to the power of exceptional leadership. Today, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf stands tall in victory as the recipient of the 2017 Ibrahim Prize for Achievement in African Leadership. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Salim. Thank you. I think there's somebody to help you down the steps. Yes, thank you so much for your rousing words. So, before I invite this year's laureate to the stage, President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, we're going to play you a video of committee members and also former laureates about what leadership means.
Liberia was battered by conflict for more than a decade.
It has no running water, no national power, few usable roads.
Civil war raged and destroyed the entire country.
By the story of this jailed female political dissident who was standing up to the men running the country. The stage was now set for the revolution that would overturn gender.
Ellen Johnson Sirleaf is sworn in as President, making Africa's first elected female leader.
And Ellen is remarkable. She spent time in jail and was exiled during the West African nation's 14-year-long civil war. But she has an even bigger challenge ahead to turn around a country, as well as trying to maintain what is a fragile peace.
By the awesome challenges that we'll be facing.
What we are hoping as progressives is that she will reach within herself for that reform-minded part of her and will uplift progressive values within her administration.
Sirleaf says that when measured by access to better roads, utilities and healthcare, life has improved for many Liberians. However, she acknowledges the need for better education and more jobs for young people, many of whom are former child soldiers. Liberia is scheduled to hold its second post-war election in October. Incumbent President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf is running.
True reconciliation means a process of national healing. It means learning the lessons of the past to perfect our democracy.
Up to be a significant year for the women. Second inauguration of Africa's first democratically elected female president, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf of Liberia.
Liberia's tiny band of healthcare workers are throwing everything they have at Ebola.
When Ebola hit, we just did not know what to do about it because the systems we had, already inadequate, became placed.
Madam President, the students have some reservation with the decision.
The objective of this reform is to create better conditions for you.
To make that transformation from violence to peace, to a productive endeavor, and we owe that a lot to just the Liberian people who have wanted peace, who have said no more war.
But what do you think your femininity, your gender, brought to this particular position, if anything?
It brought to women and to girls.
The woman I admire most now, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. It makes me feel that I can be like her at times when I see her. With that, I get the courage, and I have the courage that I can be like her and even more greater than that.
With more than a week before Liberians go to the polls, election fever has gripped the country.
Mrs. Sirleaf became Africa's first elected female president in 2006, and she's actually the 5th winner of this prize since its launch of the same year, that's in 2006.
I'm sending a strong signal. Not only should we respect the Constitution and the law, but it also says that it's time for generational change. that we have young people that are vying for leadership, that have the capacity, that have the passion and the capability. And it's time for them to take over. And we have to make way for them. And if we are going to practice democracy, which we all want to do, and we all strive to do, then we've got to do it by example.
But this inaugural ceremony signals more than a peaceful transition administration to another. It is also a transition from one generation of Liberian leadership to a new generation.
As you saw there in that video, some highlights from Ellen Johnson Sirleaf's political career. You know, when Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was born nearly 80 years ago, she turns 80 this year, a wise her mother, and he predicted that this child would go very far in life. And indeed, in 2006, when Ellen Johnson Sirleaf became president, she stood at the top of a hill and surveyed the view and probably reflected on the words of that wise old man. She's known as Ma Ellen, the mother of the nation. President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, please make your way to the stage. You are everybody's mother, Ma Ellen, and we... We will hear her words of wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. President Paul Kagame, current chair of the African Union Authority and President of the Republic of Rwanda, President Alassane Ouattara, President of the Republic of La Côte d'Ivoire, Laureate and former President Pedro Pires, former President Mary Robinson, former Prime Minister Haile Mariam Desalegn, Dr. Musa Mohammed, Chairman of the African Union Commission, Dr. Salim Ahmed Salem, Chair of the Prize Committee of the Mo Ibrahim Foundation, the board and members of the Mo Ibrahim Foundation, participants of the Mo Ibrahim Governance Weekend, friends, greetings to all of you. President Paul Kagame, thank you for your generous support for this weekend's program. As I look around at Rwanda's development today, it is light years away from the conditions that existed when we led the UNDP roundtable for the country in 1994. We all take to heart the following words from your radio broadcast a few weeks ago. You said, "What we are doing here in Rwanda is not a miracle, nor it is impossible anywhere. It is simply the commitment of an entire nation, especially Rwanda youth and women." I applaud your steadfast vision and your leadership and the implementation of that vision. I commend you and your colleagues in the government and the private sector for the many innovations introduced in Rwanda. Africans have a lot to learn from one another. Many of the solution providers are here in this room tonight. To my dear friend, Mo Ibrahim, I believe that when historians reflect upon Africa's transformation, they will note that the 2006 establishment of the Mo Ibrahim Foundation and its governance index, measuring leadership based upon its impact upon the well-being of a population, was a vital inflection point for our continent. Many of our countries are driving for the ideals defined in the Charter of the Foundation. Progress is uneven, but undisputably evident. As many leaders, myself included, have benefited from your direct approach and straight talk. I'm honored to be this year's recipient of the Mo Ibrahim Prize for Achievement in African Leadership. Distinction and receive it on behalf of the many women and men who helped to navigate the profound complexities of the post-conflict country that is Liberia. As the first woman to receive this award, it is my hope that women and girls across Africa will be inspired to break through barriers, to push back the frontiers of possibilities. Where there's a first, there will be a second, and a third, and a fourth. I'm grateful that the Mo Ibrahim Foundation sought to emphasize the post-conflict consolidation of Liberia's democracy under my 2 terms in office. Indeed, my most proud accomplishment is that after decades of violent conflict, the power in Liberia today rests where it should, with the people grounded in the rule of law and upheld by institutions. We take great pride that Liberia, as was mentioned by Dr. Salim Ahmed Salim, was the only country to improve in every category and subcategory of the Ibrahim Index of African Governance, a testament to all those who served in my government. We must remember that it is not that long ago when Liberia was considered a pariah state. Decades of ruinous civil and regional war upended our democratic institutions, decimated our infrastructure, deprived a generation of educational and economic opportunity, and undermined the moral fabric of our society. But from the ashes of war, we rebuilt. We transformed the economy from a growth rate of less than 0 to more than 8.7% average until the country was devastated by the Ebola virus. We survived that shock and returned to a trajectory of progress. Have the capacity to respond to the needs of its citizens through decentralized county service centers. Infrastructure has been repaired and restored, and roads now connect urban centers and farmers to markets. With the increasing provision of electricity, potable water, and new technologies, cities and towns are bustling with life, creativity, powered by the country's youth. More importantly, friends, with your support, this August, the resilient people of Liberia will celebrate 15 years of uninterrupted peace. Yet, Liberia remains a fragile state. Institutions are still young and being tested, and resources remain scarce. Nations in a state of fragility, particularly post-conflict nations, need special attention and support. We ask that supporters and partners remain focused on Liberia so the country can continue its emergence as a post-conflict success story. Dear friends, I am 6 months shy of my 80th birthday. God has granted me many blessings. Among them, a long and healthy life, and a cadre of family and friends which have carried me through life's trials and tribulations. God has also bequeathed upon me a restless spirit, one that is never fully satisfied, always believing that things can be better. For Liberians, for Africa, for people in poverty, for women and girls around the world. And now, after 8 decades, I have come to realize that this is an impatience which at certain times in my life felt to be an unrelenting burden, a gift, a great treasure. I'm convinced that this restless spirit, in part, which drove me to public service and like a wind against my back, propelled me forward toward dreams I had yet even to visualize. I submit that this is the same sense of disquiet and impatience that I share with Mo, with President Kagame, with the Mo Ibrahim Foundation, and most of you in this audience. I submit that it is a restlessness that took hold of our fallen sister, Winnie Madikizela Mandela. Giving her the fiercest of courage to stand up against the apartheid state, despite the imprisonment of her husband, and in the face of physical and psychological abuse. Her indomitable spirit will continue to drive me through my remaining years. Speaking of women of unyielding strength, among those in this audience is Lucia Masali Yala. She was my cellmate during several months of confinement in a military prison in 1985. Her body was brutalized by soldiers, but her soul remain unscathed. From that shared trauma, we formed a friendship which has endured for over 30 years. Lucia, a young university student at the time, please stand up and be recognized. Thank you. Thank you. Looking back, it seems like every day I was fighting for something or someone. The right to be heard and to be taken seriously. The right for a society to have free speech and enjoy fundamental human rights. To end the deprivation of the Liberian people. To establish peace and build democratic institutions. To create jobs, expand livelihoods, basic social services, to educate the girl child, to stop the deadly Ebola virus, and to oversee the first peaceful democratic transition of power in Liberia for over 70 years. I stand before you today, an imperfect leader from a complex post-conflict society on a continent of uneven progress and during a time of global uncertainties. As I look toward my twilight years and my closing chapter of restlessness, I would like to leave with you some of the lessons that the Liberian people have taught me, as well as their implications for the consolidation of democracy on the continent. Liberia's progression toward democratic values, as exemplified by the successful 2018 transition, is reflective of Africa's quest for democracy. It is a continuum of the continent's struggle for liberation and freedom. As Nelson Mandela said in March of 1991, I belong to the generation of leaders for whom the achievement of democracy was the defining challenge. Trends remain encouraging as young people empowered by education and technology demand their rights to be heard and to be listened to. Africa's evolution illustrates the strong causal effects between democracy and development. Afrobarometer finds that 7 out of 10 Africans believe democracy is preferable to all other forms of government. A number of countries, so many of our countries on the continent, including Ghana, Gambia, Senegal, Nigeria, Benin, Malawi, Botswana, Namibia, Kenya, Lesotho, Tanzania, Cote d'Ivoire, all have conducted free and fair elections belonging to a peaceful transition of power. And within democracies, political parties are self-correcting, as recently witnessed in South Africa. We also celebrate Sierra Leone, Liberia's neighbor, who this month completed a hotly contested presidential election. Like Liberia, Ghana, Nigeria, the incumbent political power ceded power peacefully to the opposition. Still, Africa's progress is filled with imperfections, and too many nations lag behind. Several continue to practice managed democracy void of real competition. Others cling to power for decades, deaf to the cries of their population for change. And too often, there's a violent rejection of election results. Political parties are organized by patronage and patriarchy. For most of them, Democracy is practiced during the campaign cycle, but not necessarily within the party itself. This historical inequity is reinforced by a lack of campaign finance laws, which disproportionately prevent women and youth, two already disadvantaged groups, from taking on leadership role in political discourse, leaving the party apparatus to well-established economic and political cartels. Focus on elections, celebrate them as the milestone, but it is often said, elections do not a democracy make. We must look behind the process and examine the barriers that shut down competition before the campaign starts. Notwithstanding, I am convinced that these tendencies will not last, that our continent and other continents will continue the unstoppable march toward participatory democracy. We must identify the barriers to entry in political society and break them down one by one. Democracy must evolve from a single event into the institutionalization of a process that provides access to all its participants. We must look anew, not just as respecting constitutional term limits, but adjusting our Constitution to address campaign finance laws, to encourage the participation of women and the engagement of youth, and to strengthen the civil society. One cannot talk about democracy in Africa without noting the challenge of institutional and systemic corruption, an ill that fights back, often with an overpowering resistance of strength. I'm looking forward, I think Ngozi is here, to reading her latest book, in which she said, fighting corruption is dangerous. Rent-saving behavior becomes part of a survival skill and a corridor for greed. In response, we invested in integrity institutions and sought to hold officials responsible for the misuse of public funds. Requires shifting the mentality of society and demands the ongoing collective effort of all branches of government across successive administrations. This is a challenge in our country that the administration of President George Weah will have to face and has committed to address. The good news is that corruption struggles to remain hidden in a world where technology and information systems increasingly showcase what passes from hand to hand, and social media has empowered everyday citizens to become watchdogs. Corruption, however, is also a double-edged sword and can be used against the innocent to discredit and disempower them. I'm delighted that after 4 years, the former president of Malawi, my dear friend Joyce Banda, is returning home tomorrow. I am convinced that with the courage to return, the rule of law will prevail and grant her justice. We must tackle the historical disadvantages which have made women political outsiders. I made history as the first woman democratically elected to lead an African nation. But 13 years later, there is not a single woman president on the continent. That is not okay. We must dig deep to address the societal, educational, and institutional barriers which disadvantage women. Again, We can learn from each other. And we look, as an example, Rwanda, which has excelled in every way, where quotas were constitutionally imposed to address historical inequities, and where, as a result, with the role played by women, today, Rwanda is the model African country to be followed. We must capture the political energy of our youth, open up the political system, and lower the age of political participation. I'm sure that many of you have watched the sit-ins in Nigeria as the population mobilizes to reduce the age to participate in the House of Representatives, the Senate, and even the presidency in the aptly titled "Not Too Young to Run" campaign. And finally, toward the focal point of this conference, strengthening civil society. What can we do to inculcate a mentality of service with our young people, to create institutions that attract the best and the brightest and reward those who enter? What innovative programs can be established to build capacity and instill values, given severe limitations? When I assumed the presidency, we knew Liberia needed a professional civil service in order to thrive. But traditional mistrust, a legacy of corruption, meant that few talented candidates wanted to work in the public service. A bloated and largely unqualified public service distrustful of change posed a threat to the fragile peace. So we immediately recruited a small but talented cohort of Liberians responsible for three important objectives: create programs to attract talented civil service candidates from other sectors, develop training skills in existing civil servants, strengthen the Liberian financial backbone by investing in the Ministry of Finance human capacity. With support from international partners, we introduced a repatriation initiative that brought talented Liberians home from the diaspora. We launched an innovative mentoring program to recruit and train young leaders through the President's Young Professional Program. We created a merit-based competitive path to government. Today, over 140 young leaders having gone through this process could be the bulwark of a modern and efficient civil service. While we live in an uncertain world, I, for one, remain optimistic, because from Africa to America, the future is in the hands of young people. They are taking charge and demanding that their voices be heard. They too are restless and impatient. They too are determined. Recently, while in the United States, a young student at Georgetown University shared with me a twist on the famous Serenity Prayer written by the American theologian Reinhold Niebuhr. He said, "Madam President, our generation is different. We are no longer asking God for the serenity to accept the things we cannot change. We are asking God and the Almighty to give us the courage to change the things we cannot accept." In closing, I can tell you that this restless soul cannot rest, will not rest, as there is still much work to do. One girl child to educate, one young boy to employ, one market woman to do literacy training, and so the work goes on. I will be working with a small team to establish the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf Presidential Center for Women in Development. The center programs will be designed to support women as agents of change, makers of peace, of progress. In addition, I will remain committed to supporting the goals set forth by the Mo Ibrahim Foundation and to its mission to promote governance and leadership across the continent. God bless all of you in this gathering today, gathering here to support the remarkable endeavor that is the Mo Ibrahim Foundation. God bless the people who chose a life in service to others. The future are in your hands. I would like to thank all of those in this room and those beyond who have been with me on this long journey. Allow me to give special thanks to Mary Robinson and to Alassane Ouattara. To President Ouattara for encouragement and guidance over many years, long years before I became president. I was told when granted the prize and discussion about coming to be able to give a speech. And I said this to Mo this afternoon. When someone said to me, this is the one opportunity you will have to say the things you always wanted to say but could not say. Tonight, I hope that my words, based on my experience in a small, poor, post-conflict country, will resonate, and that all of us who work for the betterment of society will leave here tonight strengthened in our conviction, with the courage to continue to promote good governance and democracy across the world. I thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you. Renewed congratulations to Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. May I invite to the stage, please, Dr. Mo Ibrahim and the committee members. We're going to take some photographs, but also to make the award, please, Salim, Dr. Salim Ahmed Salim. Please, would you be so kind as to come to the stage? Thank you. To make the award to President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and other members of the committee, and Dr. Mo, if you could join us on the stage. And President Kagame and President Alassane Ouattara.
Oh, thank you.
Everybody happy with the photos? Great. Thank you also. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now you may sit down and enjoy the rest of the entertainment. Have you made the presentation? Oh, we haven't made that yet. You did? Have you made the presentation yet? Oh, you're just giving it. You've given it. So now, thank you so much indeed, and renewed congratulations, President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. I don't think I've been on a stage with so many presidents before. Thank you so much. President Robinson, thank you.
Good evening.
Always, yeah, it has been, yeah. Well, you can dance now. Hello, how are you? Yeah, good to see you, yeah. President Kagame, thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. We've got one more band now.
Yes.
Don't go yet. Hi, how are you? Yeah, you're a free man now.
Yeah.
I know, I should do, yeah. I saw
Okay, thank you.
So now, everybody, we have The Ben, and you know The Ben is the most popular artist here in Rwanda, and he's been joined again by the Nyundo School of Music band, and they're going to be playing you some, Afro pop. Okay, thank you very much. There you are. Woo!
Bravo. Good evening. Bonsoir. It is an honor to be here.
yeah. Baby, yeah. Come close, sweetie, oh, kitty, yeah. Ese wabuze uko wansonze mami, nukuri sinkiriho, oya sinibuka uko nabagaho ntarakumenya. Na 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 na. Tariki yari nk'iyi ngiyi, yeah. Ubwo twese twahuraga, hoya hoya naca kunwara, sinshaka no kubitekereza, kubana kubura. You are my life, wowe baraka yangu, ibyiza byose nabiboneye muri wowe. Oh yeah yeah, amarira yasobanura urukundo bakunda, yeah. Sinasigira mura, hey. No, 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 no. Hoya, hoya, nacha kunwara, sishaka no kubitekereza, kubana kubura. Baby, you're my life, wowe baraka yangu, ibyiza byose nabiboneye muri wowe. Thank you so much. Yes.
because that concludes this year's leadership ceremony. It's been my pleasure to be with all of you. Enjoy the rest of the governance weekend. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Yeah. Yeah.
twongeye tubashimire mwe mwese mwahisemo kubana natwe umuhango waberaga rero muri Kigali Convention Center ukaba rero uhumuje umuhango rero wamo Ibrahim aho batangaga rero igihembo kidashyikirwa wahoze ari perezida wa Liberia Salif Johnson aho rero havuzwe ibigwi byinshi byamuranze akiri perezida wa Liberia mu gihe cy'imyaka 12 insanganyamatsiko rero ya Mo Ibrahim y'uyu mwaka yavuga ku bijyanye na serivisi zitangwa mu nzego za leta ariko Mo Ibrahim ijambo we ku giti cye yagejeje ku bitabiriye uyu muhango yavuze ko bishimiye cyane ko uyu mwaka kino gihembo kidashyikirwa cyashyikirijwe umugore akaba ari n'ubwa mbere umugore ahawe kino gihembo ku rwego rwa Afrika kubera ibikorwa by'indashyikirwa ariko by'umwihariko akaba yongeyeho kuba kino gihembo cyahawe umugore ariko birenzo kikaba cyatangiwe mu Rwanda aho u Rwanda rwateje imbere by'umwihariko by'umwihariko ku buryo bugaragara iterambere ry'umugore ati nabyo ubwabyo nibyo kwishimira. Perezida Ouattara ku giti cye mu ijambo yavuze we yashimiye by'umwihariko Perezida Salif Johnson mu bikorwa bidashyikirwa yakoze. Yavuze ngo njye naba umuhamya cyangwa se umugabo wo kubihamya aho igihugu cyavuye. Ati guhera muri za 90 ubwo Ouattara yari minisitiri w'intebe, ati nabonye ibibazo byinshi cyane igihugu cyanyuzemo cya Liberia, ati kugera aho rero n'ukuntu yaje gonga igihugu nyuma yaho ibyo byose aza kubirenga ubwo yaje kuba perezida wa Liberia. Nyuma yaho yatangiye guhangana n'ibibazo bidasanzwe. Nyakubahwa perezida wa Repubulika y'u Rwanda we yifurije amahirwe masa mu rugendo Salif yatangiye nyuma yo kuva ku butegetsi, ndetse anasaba mucyo yagezeho ko byahesheje ishema Liberia ndetse na Afurika muri rusange. Dusubiye inyuma gatoya mu mateka ya kino gihembo cyatangiye agana muri 2007 nibwo rero cyahawe perezida wa mbere ariwe Joaquim Chissano wa Mozambique. Ubwo rero abaperezida batandukanye bagiye bibaza cyangwa barebera hamwe ese niki cyakozwe kugira ngo ahabwe icyo gihembo, ariko ku myaka yagiye ishira byagiye bigaragaza cyangwa se bitanga indi sura kino gihembo cyamo Ibrahim by'umwihariko. None ariko hari imyaka yagiye ibamo hagati kuko byatangajwe na Ibrahim ku giti cye, ati hari imyaka yageze aho ngaho tubura uwo tugiha. Ati ariko no Salif Johnson yaje ari mudamu wa mbere. Yavuze ko Salif yakoze ibidasanzwe mu gihe cya Ebola ubwo yaturwa ku manda ya kabiri, kuko ubwo bavaga mu ntambara y'udaca yatowe bwa mbere muri za 2006. Nyuma y'imanda y'imyaka 6 aza kujya guhabwa indi manda 2012, ariko 2016 yatangiye hanga n'ibibazo bikomeye cyane bijyanye n'ibikorwa remezo bijyanye n'amashuri kugira ngo igihugu kitangire cyubake. Noneho bigeze muri 2012 ajyabwa manda ya kabiri aza guhura ikibazo gikomeye cyane cya Ebola, aho rero mu butumwa yagejeje ku bari bitabiriye uyu muhango wa Ibrahim, Salif Johnson ku giti cye yivugiye ati mu myaka 13 maze muri politiki, ati mu bunararibonye mfite, ati ni byiza cyane, ariko nanone birababaje kubona ari igihe perezida wenyine w'umugore kugeza kuri ubu ngubu Afurika igize, ati tubatse amateka, ati ariko kino gihembo kikwiye kubera urubyiruko, gikwiye kubera abari n'abategarugori ishusho rusange yuko n'abakwiye guhaguruka kugira ngo bumve ko nabo bishoboka, ati ko banabikoze bigashoboka, ati bikigaragaza ko rero bishoboka. Akaba rero by'umwihariko yanashimiye Leta y'u Rwanda kuba yateje imbere umugore muri rusange. Kaduhinirangana byinshi byavugiwe ahangaha, ni byinshi byabereye ahangaha by'umwihariko bigaruka kuri igikorwa cyamo Ibrahim kabereye mu Rwanda. Mwakoze kwa natwe, nshimire ekipi yose yadufashije kugira ngo no muhango bagere 5-5 ahasigaye munogerwe n'izindi gahunda zose televiziyo Rwanda bateguriye. Mwari kumwe na Andrew Kareba.
Every year on 1st May, Rwanda joins the world. The theme for this year is Promote Productive Employment for Rapid Development. During the Employment Week scheduled from 23rd April, there are many planned activities including competitions of journalists who run labor stories, competitions of women and young entrepreneurs, restricts on job creation, competitions of different sports disciplines among public and private institutions, employers compliance forum and health, which will take place on 26th April 2018 at City Blue Epic Hotel in Eastern Province. Rwandans will reiterate their commitment. On 1st May, Labor Day will be celebrated in Rubavu at national level, and in every institution, Rwandans are requested to attend all planned activities during 2018 Employment Week and in Labor Day celebrations.
Rwandair, renowned for its tremendous ability to fulfill your dreams, invites you to connect more with your friends and family in Europe with 3 weekly flights to Brussels, one of the most popular cities for the African diaspora. Take advantage of the exquisite service, connecting you to over 22 other destinations in our fast-growing network.